Promotional consideration for Prep Recruiting Insider, provided by Moe's Pizza, the best pizza on the West Bank. Stop by before or after the game at Moe's, 1112 Avenue H in Westwego. Check out their full menu online at moespizzanola.com and tell them you heard about it on PRI. And welcome back to Prep Recruiting Insider here at NOLA Motorsports Park in the Speed Center. I'm Rick Gailey, the coach of PRI, here with our Prep Recruiting Insider, Renee Nadeau. And we're very fortunate today to have Coach JT Curtis of the John Curtis Patriots here today. Welcome, JT, to PRI.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and look forward to it. And I tell you, that pizza got me a little hungry, man. I tell you, if you ever had a Moe's Pizza, you know what I'm talking about.
That's right, and we're going to share in some of that later on. We certainly, he's been a great sponsor of ours, but you know Moe's Pizza. You know that there's no Moe's Pizza. But there's also another story behind it as well.
Jeff Arcemet played for me and was in school with me and loved his family, and he was a kid that was really intense, and he was a guy that always tried to do well. And I talked to him one year about gaining some weight, and he said, "Well, Coach, I'm working at a pizza place, and I'm eating a lot of pizza." And I said, "Well, that's good." And then by the time he got to be a senior, he was still almost as light as he was when he was a freshman and a sophomore. I said, "Jeff, you got to quit working so much, son." I said, you got to realize that you don't want to make pizza the rest of life, do you? Is that what you want to do, is make pizza?" And he said, "Coach, I kind of like making pizza." Well, the rest of it's history, okay?
That's right.
I try to go over there and get a free pizza now. But anyway, he's a great kid, and really I think the same tenacity he had on the football field is exactly what he applies in his business life, and that's the way he runs his business, that same intensity and with that same perfection, and it's a great product, that he's a great kid. He's a great man, let me rephrase that, great man.
Yeah, they're still kids. They're always one of our
always
kids.
JT, everybody knows the story. 46 years in coaching, 26 state championships, 535 wins, and you won almost 90% of all the games you've ever coached. What is the most challenging part of coaching that's taken place in the last 20 to 25 years on or off the field?
Well, a lot of things have changed, but kids still want the same things. I don't care who they are. They want to be loved. They want to be disciplined, and they want to be a part of something positive. And I don't think that's ever going to change. That's what people need. That's who people are and what they need in their lives. What's really made it more difficult has been the restrictions of the NCAA in the recruiting process with college coaches has now allowed it to overflow into so many outlets outside of the game that I think has created a great deal of difficulty in trying to keep it a manageable process. Recruiting services, evaluations, trying to get contact directly with players, guys selling information now to universities. So it's become a big business outside of the arena of college football and high school in the recruiting process. And the social media has only added to it and made it much more difficult over the course of the last 5 to 10 years.
And that's something that's been really a crusade of ours. I call it the street agents, all the outside people that are trying to have some type of influence over recruiting. And it's important right now that coaches take back the recruiting process. Some coaches like to kind of stay on the side and let it work its way out. But if we don't take control over it, we either act or you're acted upon. We've got to take control of the recruiting process.
Well, I think we acquiesce to them. And that's the wrong, and really to tell you, I've even spoken to the people at the NCAA, and I think they need to get more involved. They need to get more involved in saying they want to control how recruiting goes. They need to limit the players' accessibility to these people. I'm not a big fan of offering scholarships to kids that are in the 8th and the 9th grade, but if they do, and kids are committing, then we need to sign the contract and be done.
Right.
Let's end it. I think if we went through that process, we'd find a lot less of this early recruiting pressure that are being put on kids when they are in the 9th, 10th, and even as early as the 8th grade, which I don't think is a positive thing for the athlete or a positive thing for the program.
Because they do have a tendency to grow.
No question about that. And the late developer often gets overlooked.
Yes.
And that's not what it should be. The second factor is that the motivation to work toward a goal. I mean, when you've got a scholarship to Division I school and you're in the 9th grade, what is your motivation at that point? Work harder so I can do better? Of course, we've taken that away. And so unless you're in a program that really stresses and emphasizes the extra things that need to be done in order for you to be successful, I think there's a tendency to regress rather than progress as a player.
You got a couple of things I know you pretty well, JT, and how do you police the guys in 8th and 9th grade that come around to see your players? And also, you know, as much as adamant you are about a young man committing, same holds true with the school. If someone comes on your campus and they offer scholarship, you hold them to that, don't you?
I do hold them to it. And what I ask them to do is this: be upfront and be honest, because that's what we're going to be. We're going to be upfront, we're going to be honest. If the young man doesn't have an interest in that school, I'm going to tell that man that, because he needs to move on to his next process. And look, at best, recruiting is a high-risk gamble. You can look at the senior rosters on most college campuses in a college football program, and there's not 25 seniors on that team. There's an attrition. There are guys that aren't quite as good as they thought they were going to be. There's the injury factor. So there's a lot of things that go into that. So I think that the more you can keep it a civilized operation, the better chance you have to keep it for a kid makes the right decision for himself. I don't make our players accessible to guys. Now look, they go behind my back. And they try to go behind my back. And I have parents that fortunately understand the importance of keeping these things out in front and in the hands of someone that has experience dealing with these issues. And so I don't have a lot of problem with it. But believe me, it's a money-making business, and anytime money gets in it, you're going to have problems.
And that includes the media as well, because I'm going to give everybody a heads up here. There's some segments of the media that get paid by the clicks on their website. And so they specialize in going behind coaches' backs and saying that they can do this for you, they could do it for players, they could do this, they can do this favor. Let's cut all of that nonsense out, folks. Nobody can do as much as your coach and your school for the recruiting process, which is a mess to begin with, because they make you commit early. In a sense, because if you don't commit early, you might get left out.
Well, and again, that goes back to, I ask coaches to just be honest with me. If a coach says to me, Coach, look, I've got 2 scholarships to offer. I've offered them to 4 kids, and the first 2 that come, that's who I'm going to go with. That's a legitimate process, okay? My responsibility is to go to that young man and say, okay, if this is where you think you want to go, you need to make a decision. If you say to me, well, Coach, I have 4 or 5 other options, then let the 2 guys go. And then you can move on to what is next. But we've got to keep each other informed. I try to keep the university informed as to where the player is, and I want the university to keep me informed as to where they are. And then you have those guys that they're going to wait on. They'll wait to the very last day. And so there's no fairness about the recruiting process. And I tell people all the time, what they have to recognize is that it is not a game any longer. The game ends in high school. It is a business, and it's a multi-million-dollar business.
JT, you've coached guys like Michael Stonebreaker, who's going to be on this in a little while, and Reggie Dupart, but you've also coached some guys that went to med school and law school, too.
Oh, yeah. No question. Look, and Rick can tell you, the most rewarding thing about coaching in high school, in my opinion, is to watch young men progress in their life. Watch them become positive members of their community. But, you know, Mike Robertson, my offensive line coach for 35 years, one son's an attorney and the other son's a physician. To watch those 2 kids grow up and see them develop the skills and their talents to be able to be really major contributors to the community is important. Donald Fabacher is a physician now with urgent care here, and he'll call me and say, Coach, you got anybody? Send them over. I'll be glad to take care of them for you. And really, that's meaningful to you. And hopefully I don't have to use any of the attorneys that are available, but that's just professional. Really, it's about people that are making positive contributions, whether plumbers and electricians, or they're doctors or lawyers. Be a positive influence in the community. Make a contribution.
That's right. Become a contributing member to your community. And that's, coaching is a profession that we only get what we want if all of you get what you want. We got just a couple of minutes left, JT, and I wanted to take some time to talk about somebody that influenced both you and me in high school, and that's Coach Bob Whitman. Coach Curtis and I both attended East Jefferson University. We went there separately together, and he's older than I am, even though, look, he's been coaching 46 years. I only coached 34. He looks like that. I look like this. Who's got the harder job? All right. But talk about Coach Whitman, what an influence he's been on us.
I can't tell you what a positive influence he was, not only in my life, but in the lives of so many of the people that are, again, in the East Jefferson community throughout the years. And he's a man of high integrity. He portrayed that to us in his lifestyle. He emphasized it to us as young people, and I think that's carried over into the community. I think probably the most rewarding thing for me was to see him have the opportunity to go to the San Francisco 49ers after putting in years and years of just hard, laborious work, trying to make a living, had a bunch of kids in the family, and just was a nuts and bolts guy, and then go to the San Francisco 49ers, be head of their scouting department that went to 4 Super Bowls. And to see him be able to end his career like that was just very rewarding to me. But the bottom line is, Rick, there are not enough Bob Whitmans in the world. There really aren't enough Bob Whitmans in the world, and we're going to miss him. Passed away a couple of years ago, and we're going to miss him dearly because he was such a positive influence on a lot of people.
A huge influence on all of us, and one of the things he had, and it's remarkable to me that you still have it, the energy to do what you do, because it's a high energy business. If you don't have the energy, you can't do it.
Well, there's no question about that. If you don't, you need to get out, you know. And somebody's asked about if I'm going to continue to coach to try to catch John McKissick. Okay. McKissick is the fellow that's in South Carolina. Answer to that is I'm not going to do it when I'm 86, I can promise you.
I know what you mean. Thank you so much for being here, JT. Coming up next, Curtis Athletes 2 and 2 coming up here at NOLA Motorsports Park. Prep Recruiting Insider. We're in the Speed Shop. Great facility here. Check us out, nolamotor.com. We will be right back on PRI.